Okay, if you don't like it, you can just say that. Like, you don't have to hide it. Like, you can just tell me that you don't like it.
Like,
I'm not
tell me you don't like it. Tell me you don't like it.
I'm not gonna get my feelings hurt. Like, just tell me that you don't like it. And you were like, I just don't know that I like it yet. And I was like, so you don't like it?
No, literally,
like, that's not what I said.
When we were growing up, my mom got her iPad.
Yes.
And all she did was use it to play
her silly little games.
Her little games.
Yes.
And we're like, that's so dumb. Like, why? Blah, 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 blah. And now, like, low-key addicted to our little phone games.
I get it.
What phone game are you playing right now?
Monopoly Go. It's my latest hyperfixation.
It is really satisfying to watch you get those big jackpots.
It is, yes.
I wish this was an advertisement because this is so embarrassing.
Listen, I am actually like unironically trying to get an ad with Monopoly Go.
Monopoly Go, please.
Please sponsor
Nikki
me.
will talk all the hype about your game.
I love your game. Just let me talk about it. No, it's like a fun sort of tongue-in-cheek. It's like literally, it's, you know, the Monopoly board game.
You love capitalism.
But it's like tongue-in-cheek and kind of funny. I don't know if they intended it to be that way, but it is kind of funny to me. When you're doing the tutorial for the game, they explain to you like the mechanics of how everything works. And like one of the things you do is called a shutdown, where like the whole point of the game is to get money so that you can build these little landmarks. So you go from Monopoly board to Monopoly board after you finish all 5 of your landmarks.
That's why you're doing that.
You spend like, you know, $4 million to upgrade it, and then you spend $8 million to upgrade it, and so you just like keep adding, you know, as you're building. And obviously sometimes you'll run out of money, and so it's just like stuck like that. But these things called shutdowns are where you go to somebody else's board that they're currently in construction on, and you like hit it with a like a crank, like a wrecking ball.
Wrecking ball.
And so it like knocks them down one, and then they have to rebuild it and repair it. But in the tutorial, it's like, don't feel bad. Everyone else is going to do this to you. That's how capitalism is, or something. It's like, I don't know if they meant it to be funny.
Did they say that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like it literally says like, don't feel bad, like they're gonna do it to you too or something. And it was just like something about how like that's how capitalism is or something. It was like that's the way that this works. That's how everybody makes money or something.
I
was like,
to believe they're not in on it.
What?
I love that.
It was so funny though. It's like a funny, silly little haha.
Yeah.
And it's also just so addictive, like rolling the dice and getting your rewards.
I love watching you do the jackpots. They're so fucking exciting.
Anyways, no more free promo for Monopoly Go. Pay me. Thank you.
Us.
What phone game are you playing right now?
Oh, Souls.
What is that?
It's like a little...
Is this the fighting one? Is this the D&D
one?
Yeah,
it's like a little... I think it's like Raid Shadow Legend, I think. I see ads. I've never played that. I'm not normally in those games or whatever. It's like a newer game.
Yeah.
And so the community's all new. There's no like...
Toxicity yet?
No. Not like... So like when a phone game's been around for a while, or when games been around for a while, like competitive games or whatever.
Yeah.
There's normally like, oh, these are the best people to have or whatever. But like very much everyone is still viable and like everything's balanced pretty well. Yeah, you just have like a little 5-person team. And then there's like... It's basically like puzzles.
Yeah.
You just have to like figure out which moves are going to be more effective against the enemy, and then you...
But there's like spells and stuff, right? Because you're saying that one character has like chain lightning.
Little chain lightning, and then they have like little tanks and shields and healers and stuff.
Really
fun.
It's
it's like having your own little D&D campaign.
I like watching yours because it's all like the numbers.
Oh, I know. I love watching games with numbers
like
and
did
damage.
This damage, and then there's like healing and the little circles.
Yes.
It's really fun. It's really satisfying.
Yeah.
So you can just like it just like goes, right? Yeah. And so you'll have it on sometimes while we're like cooking or whatever, and I'll just watch the lights and the numbers.
But yeah, my mom was ahead of the curve. She was on phone, like, I guess...
We used to make fun of her because we were like, that's not what an iPad's for.
Do you remember?
Like, low-key kind of I would do that now.
It is exactly what it is for. Do you remember like Farmville? And doesn't Hannah still play Farmville? Or
Hannah
she plays
like
a version?
Like an iteration of Farmville. Yeah, she loves it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Who knew those would be such a... Like, and then I remember like thinking like, that is insane that people would spend money on that now.
Yes.
But like also...
And now I'm like...
$50-$60 on a regular game.
Yes.
Like I play this way more than some video games I've bought.
Video games you bought.
But yeah, it's so crazy how it all comes.
I think the thing about it that's so seductive though is that for me, like if I spend like $1.99 on Monopoly, like first of all, that's not really a lot of money.
It's not even a cup of coffee anymore.
No, literally. And also it comes out of our phone bill, so it's not like a charge to my debit card.
Yours comes out of our phone bill?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
That is dangerous, pumpkin.
I know. So I don't really see the amount. So I'm just
kind of like, charge our card?
I don't think so. Because it's like a subscription thing or something.
It's not on your Google account?
I don't think so. Because I don't ever see the charges come out of our regular bank account. It's not like $1.99 Apple Store. Yeah.
So we're just going to get a phone bill one time.
No, it happens once a month. Yeah.
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 Okay.
So like if I spend $1.99, our phone bill is just like $1.99 more that month.
That's not that bad.
I'm pretty
Why
sure.
Why not set up that
I never
way?
see the charges on our Chase account. So
what's the most you spent on a phone game?
In one
game?
go?
Mm-hmm.
In one day, I've spent $15.
Oh, damn.
But it was because there was a tournament that was ending and I was really close and I wanted to win, and I did. I did win at the tournament, so
that's all that matters.
It was worth it.
I think I spent $30 once.
Really?
I know some of my friends have spent thousands of dollars.
Whoa!
They play
phone games.
Phone game. They play Epic 7. It's like super hardcore. I don't know. It's kind of like my game, but like instead
harder?
of my game's vertical, it's horizontal.
Oh,
but like just lots of materials and like there's like hundreds of characters. Like how mine has like only a handful.
That is so much.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
I just don't think I could get behind that.
I don't even judge anymore, too. Like, if that's what it gets your rocks off and like makes you happy.
Thousands of dollars in one go?
If you want to be pro, you know.
Somebody has actually spent $1,000 on a game in one sitting.
No, not in one sitting, but like over the course of that. They've been playing this game for years, though.
I was like, baby, you're being really calm about that. That's a crazy amount of money.
No, but I mean, like, that's what like there's people on my game, like it's called whales when people spend a lot of money. Like that's like the term. Yeah, that's like the term, like the industry term for people who like pay to win, basically. No, it's true. It's a real thing. But yeah, they pay to win.
It's just funny.
Yeah, 'cause, like they just have like ungodly. You're like, how do you even have some of this stuff?
Yeah,
like,
I feel that way about some of the people in Monopoly Go. There's like tournaments and stuff, and you can see the little tournament rankings, like who's in the number one spot. And I think I told you the other day, like nobody is unseating the number one place because number one has like 25,352 like. I don't know what it is right now. I think it's like scrolls or something. It changes. Yesterday it was like
just
spoons.
No way.
And then number 2 is like 3,000.
No, literally.
It's just like insane.
I
don't know. You must just be here all day, just like buy more dice, buy more dice, buy more dice. Just
and
like
I think that energy dovetails us perfectly into new relationship energy. Because when you first start,
do that on purpose?
No, but when you first start phone games, it's intoxicating. It's because they're giving you all the shit. You're getting all the rewards. You just like you can't be stopped. You're unbeatable. You can fly through all the levels and everything. And like, is dating any different? It starts out really easy in theory, unless it's Married at First Sight.
I know, or The Ultimatum,
or any of the dating reality shows. Literally.
Yeah. So I think today we're talking about NRE or new relationship energy.
It's a drug.
Primarily. But there's also like an interesting crossover because this conversation originally came up when we were talking about, at least for me, when I was talking about the queer ultimatum. Yeah. Because a lot of what was being said in these, because for those of you who don't know, the ultimatum basically is these couples that one person in the couple wants to get married, the other person is not ready or doesn't want to.
Yeah.
So the person who wants to get married issues an ultimatum. And so you run half of this experiment being partnered with your original partner, and then the other half you're partnered with somebody else who you guys have to mutually pick each other and do like a trial marriage to see, I don't know if that is better than your partnership, I guess. The theory being that if you spend time in a relationship with someone else, it will either give you clarity about needing to break up or wanting to get married.
Yeah.
It's like a very reductionist take, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But a lot of the language that they use in the show is like, oh, we've gotten so much closer in just like a few weeks than I was with my partner that I've been with for years. And like, they understand me and they listen to me and they're excited to be around me. And the whole thing is just like one long advertisement for why NRE or new relationship energy is like kind of dangerous.
It's like, let's see these relationships in a year, in 2 years.
Yes.
Like you can't cram in.
No, years and years. Well, and we talked about this in the streams too, but it's really easy to feel like everything is good and fun.
It's so easy.
Because when you first start a new relationship, it also, people call this the honeymoon phase, right? Where like when you first start this new relationship, everything is novel and exciting.
There's no dust. There's no like, it's like moving into a new apartment or a new house or like getting a new car.
Yes. No, that's like clean. Perfect. Well, and you haven't had time to really assess like, oh, my car makes this weird creaking noise when I go over bumps yet. Or like, the upholstery smells weird after
the cleaning stuff has subsided.
Yeah. There's like not really been enough time for you to find all of the quirks and like weird little hangups and stuff. And also part of relationships is going through like difficult life stuff together. Literally. Not that that's like necessary, I guess.
Creating baggage together, basically.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, that's the way that life works, right? Is that we go through phases where things are easy, and then we go through phases where things are hard.
Yes.
And so, in my opinion, both as a human in a relationship and as a clinician. You are
human in a relationship, I can.
Is that a good, healthy relationship, like the mark of a healthy relationship, is being able to work through those difficult periods of time with a sense of teamness right? With a sense of like oneness.
Collaboration.
Yes, exactly. And feeling supported by that person, you know?
Feeling like they got your back. That's like what the one thing they always, like every dating show ever, they're like, oh, I just really feel like they have my back. Like, yes, that's normal. Like, that's a good thing.
That's the way that it's supposed to be. And so in these like new, like the queer ultimatum and like the ultimatum generally, even, you know, like Married at First Sight does this, Love is Blind does this, that like we are brand new and everything's exciting and cool. And so obviously, right, this is a sign that this person's my soulmate.
Of course.
I've never felt this way before. And so in this very insular environment where all of our emotions are really heightened and we're feeling very competitive and I'm afraid of being left out and I have all of this NRE, of course, I'm super excited and happy and like, you know, this is a sign from the universe that I should marry this person, which is like not the way that it fucking works.
I think too, like the thing that like for me was like, also, because I think this perfectly describes too the difference between falling in love with someone and falling in love with the idea of someone. Like those are two, like those are not the same thing. I can attest.
I was wondering if you were going to talk about this.
Yeah, of course I will. I don't give a shit. I will fall in love with the idea of someone head over heels overhead, whatever the saying
as
is.
A routine
like,
kettle. Yeah.
I am a weak ass bitch to the idea, like my imagination. Yeah. Like if you think it's on, like if I idle high regularly, like I've
seen
like,
it.
If I'm, if I'm swiping or something, or like we're out, I'm like, oh, I can picture. I don't even have kids with. I can't even have kids, but I'd be like, oh, I can see our white picket fence and like this yada yada yada. Not really, to be clear.
No, I know, like, but it's like
the impression, the picture I'm painting.
Yes, the
is like,
story that you tell yourself.
And then our life will look like this, and we'll do this together, and then they'll fit in. You'll just slot in perfectly, which is the other thing that's great to talk about too. That I think we'll probably dissect a little bit more in this video is the difference between being in a relationship with someone and having someone slot into your life and having them be attached to your relationship.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and like viewing their positive attributes as it relates to your life rather than viewing them as a whole and intrinsic person who encompasses both good and bad parts of themselves, both of which will impact your life and your shared life together. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. Which one of those do you want to talk about first?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Also, hi, welcome.
To the podcast. Thanks for coming. Yeah, we have a lot to unpack.
Do you want to do it from the lens of dating shows, or what are you thinking?
I mean, probably both. I guess I was thinking we can talk about dating shows, but also talking about our own experiences with NRE, because as much as I like to razz you for being the NRE guy.
Oh my God, do I get razzed? Yeah. Rightfully so. Because
you do kind of do that.
I have idled down some, but I definitely
I think especially in the beginning.
It's like oxygen almost. Like you want more and more of it or something.
When you get like pure oxygen and you're like, wow.
Like an oxygen bar. Yeah. No doubt.
But no, I think I also have my own fair share of,
I think you do,
like fantasy about like NRE and stuff, you know?
And I feel like there's nothing wrong with falling in love with the idea. I mean, because it's fun to, like, it's
love
like,
is fun.
It's not like
falling in love is fun.
Falling in love is fun.
Yeah.
But I think there's no better, I don't know, like I really cherish, I always do in like all of my relationships, so that beginning time. Because it's just like you can't replicate it. You don't know. It's everything's new. It's fresh. It's shiny.
Yes.
You know, like this is something it's like all new experience. I think especially for people like us who love people generally.
Yes.
And love getting to know people.
Deep conversations.
Yes. Like it's, you know.
There's also something about it, I think, in regards to feeling seen by someone.
Yeah.
Right? Because as much as I love you, obviously I'm very happy with you in our marriage. Same. We have been seeing each other, right, for like our whole lives, basically.
Yeah.
And so when you meet someone new and you're doing the get to know you thing, they're asking all these questions about like, what do you like? Do you know, Christmas or Halloween, or like, what kind of food do you want to get? Or like, how are you? Who are you?
Yeah.
Like, what about
you?
What
was high school like for you? What was like college like? What was,
what do you do for work? No. Like, what are your thoughts and feelings about this particular thing? Yeah. And so it is kind of intoxicating having a person be very interested in really trying to see you.
Yes.
Even when people don't really do that very well, it is kind of that feeling of like, like someone wants to know about me, and someone sees me
this is exciting.
In this special way that like makes me feel special and cool, and you know, like, wow, somebody really likes me. You know, it's like that feeling.
Yes, which again is a totally normal thing, I feel like, to get wrapped up in. Like, it's such a wonderful, it's a high.
Well, I think, you know, like from a brain level, also, we should acknowledge that there's like a dopamine aspect to that. There's an oxytocin aspect to that, especially when you have sex with someone for the first time.
Absolutely.
You know, for as like awkward and clunky as it can be sometimes, there's still that feeling of like shared connection. Yeah.
Exciting. Yeah.
Because it's like a vulnerable, at least to me, I think it's like a vulnerable and intimate thing.
I think think so.
You know,
I view it that way.
I'm certainly not the person to believe in like making soul ties with people that you have sex with, but I don't
Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, that's like a fundy thing.
Oh really? Oh, like if you have sex, then that's like.
Yeah, that's the underpinning of a lot of purity culture is that if you have sex with someone, you've created a soul tie with them. And so if you have sex with anyone who's not your spouse, or you don't save yourself for marriage, then you've given away parts of your soul to all of these random people.
Horcrux.
And so that, yes, there's less of you to give to your spouse now. Isn't that just bizarre and nonsensical?
Because also then at that point, if God has a plan, then his plan would have been for you to have sex with these people.
In theory.
You could work it either which way. That's the part that always cracks me up about fundamentalism. Because you could just, we could
rationale.
Work this. We could do this circle all day.
Well, I mean, and we've watched them do it, right? Like Girl Define is actively doing this where they're rationalizing we are actually allowed to dress however we want to and pursue sexual pleasure because now that we look a little closer, the scripture says that we should.
So God actually wanted you to do that this whole time.
Yes. But,
so maybe he just wants you to live your life.
Well, but he was just leading them to that journey. It was part of the self-discovery.
It's important for it to be really difficult at first.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Totally.
But yeah, like I said, I'm not the person to believe in soul ties or whatever. But I do also think there's some level of intimacy for me.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong with sex being not emotional for some people.
Of course.
Or like having like no strings attached sex. You know, that's super valid too. But for me, I think I just have a hard time getting there. Like I think to me sex will always be in some form or fashion like a level of intimacy that's like, you know, sacred seems like too much of a emphasis on it, but like in that realm,
I
in
feel
that
like
ballpark.
We are definitely way more respectful of the friends with benefits thing than I see like tossed around a lot, or like at least on like dating apps and stuff where like if you just want to hook up or like
then just
one
say
night stand, like that's different. But like we don't have to like, I think it's like a way for people to be like it's kind of like the becoming the polyamorous thing too, where people say like are you actually though? Like
no, I know.
Yeah, like it's getting
that's a conversation for another or for like, you know, a whole other conversation too,
because it's not even like we've been around the block that long.
I know. It's not like we've been polyamorous for like a decade or anything, but
I definitely see a shift in
well, and thinking back in like the very early days of us opening our relationship and being on dating apps and whatever, I remember thinking, oh, all of these other polyamorous people probably know so much more about polyamory than I do. All of these people are probably so much more experienced than I am, and like that's not true, right? Like now when I see someone list that they're polyamorous on their dating profile, I'm like, in what way? What do you mean? When you say polyamorous, what does that mean to you?
What does that mean?
Right?
Does that mean like,
what does your relationship structure look like? Are you part of a polycule? What is the norm in there? What am I walking into? You know?
Yeah, they are not all built the same. And to be clear, that is us speaking as not experts.
Oh yeah,
we're just people lived experience, opinion.
Yes, our very specific and niche experience with having a few people misrepresent what they construed as polyamory, but wasn't quite polyamory to us.
Once. Yeah, it's enough to.
I think part of the problem is that there's not a standard or static definition for polyamory.
And I wouldn't want there to be clear.
That's the point. Yeah.
Yes.
But so it does sort of warrant further investigation. I guess that's what I'm saying, is that what we've learned is that you can't just operate on the premise that when someone says polyamorous, that they mean polyamorous in the way that you mean polyamorous.
It's like saying like I'm like Christians or like any religion or like like very much like same or same different but same
but different.
Yeah.
Or like when somebody talks about like their political leanings or whatever, you're like liberal or leftist,
like in what way?
Because those are different, right? Like what does that mean
literally.
to you? So I think that's also been good learning for us, because we've definitely been caught with our pants down a little bit in terms of like the NRE and all that excitement getting mixed up with like having a misunderstanding about the type of polyamorous that someone was, and that creating almost like a powder keg of like, whoops.
Well, and I think too, like kind of working our way from that too is like, is there anything you've done like under the effects of NRE that you might have, or like any decisions that you might have made differently? Because I know, oh my gosh, that's a definite yes. Because I know I definitely have. Like I've definitely made decisions that I would not have otherwise, or like I think too, because I'm just a sucker for. I'm like, oh, you said my shirt looks nice on me. I'm like, wow, you're in love with me. That's amazing. Like, I can't get married again, but do you want to get married again?
You do love words of affirmation.
I know, I'm a sucker.
You do. I think the thing that comes to mind for me is one, I guess it was like a relationship. I was talking to this person for a few months, that I allowed them to behave in certain ways towards me that I would never put up with like in my right mind.
Totally.
But because
I know it really does like augment your fucking brain. It's nuts. That's why when people do stuff on dating shows, sometimes I feel like I have so much more. I feel like you two watching the Queer Ultimatum was probably such a different experience.
Yeah.
Than had we had not.
Yeah.
Done a lot of this recently.
1,000%.
You're like, oh shit, like I could totally see why you would make like your brain just works differently on NRE.
It just I think like the honeymoon phase thing being intoxicating is like so real, you know?
Absolutely.
And so I do kind of resonate with that because I think along with the excitement and the novelty, there's also a sense of hopefulness for people.
Oh, so I live for that shit. Yeah, as someone who has been recently like fucking desperately depressed.
Yeah.
Like that little
Yeah.
That'll keep you alive.
It is very like addictive, that feeling, you know? Well, and then on these dating shows, there's this context of like, especially on the Ultimatum, there's this context of like, my relationship right now is dissatisfying. And so this person in context or in concert
we're doing like
with how exciting and intoxicating this is, this dopamine rush, this feeling like seen and desired and valued and chased by this person. And also this feeling of hope and optimism that like maybe this was the answer, right?
Yes.
Maybe this show is the answer to my problems and this person gets me wholeheartedly, completely, and this will be my happily ever after.
Yes.
You know, our couples therapist talks all the time about the fantasies that we project onto each other.
Honestly, that has been some of the most illuminating conversations ever, because it has totally changed my perspective on dating. Or like the way I act. Or what, you know,
in relationships.
Yeah.
To elaborate, one of the things that our couples therapist mentions is that we all kind of have these preconceived notions and fantasies about what a good relationship looks like or what our ideal relationship is, you know, and a fair amount of that is informed by our traumas, by our
past dating experiences,
and also our like childhood baggage, like any attachment issues that we have had with primary caregivers, you know, wanting to be a savior, wanting to be saved, wanting to like have all of this validation that you didn't get in childhood from this partner. We project all of that onto these people.
Yeah.
And so when you see someone behaving in a particular way, we take all of this back context information in our own minds about our attachment issues and our traumas and the things that we're lacking and what we need, and we interpret that behavior through that lens, you know? And so somebody, I don't know, being particularly attentive when you're having a bad week can feel like, oh, this person is my savior. This is the person who will always be attentive to my needs all the time and will never forsake my emotions because, see, they're doing it right now, even though they might just be being attentive because it's a new relationship and they don't want to look like a dick.
Yes.
You know?
I think you like really just fill in the blanks. I think that's like so perfectly. Because like the thing that stands out to me is just to use as context, on this past season of Married at First Sight that we just watched. One of the men, one of their family members had passed away, and their partner, who they'd just been married to, they'd been together for a couple days now, was like being supportive and emotionally there and available and attentive and like kind of honestly just doing like good human stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say
not really anything over the moon.
Not to take away from her being kind, because she was being really kind, but like she wasn't doing anything over the top or like something that you like. It's not to say you could never find that behavior in someone else.
But
you know?
she was performing this, you know, she's being a kind, honest, good person.
Service kind of stuff.
And the dude like was like super appreciative of it and like very, and like obviously I'd be the same exact way too if I'm being like, of course. Yeah. But like also like at the same time, like that's just something like a good person should do.
Yes.
But like I think when you're missing that or you've had past relationships. And so you like, I think you summed it up perfectly.
Yeah.
Like
it's like you're filling in the blank thing.
Yes. You're just like filling in these little gaps.
Yeah.
Like,
which is why it's so intoxicating, because I think especially like I was saying on the Ultimatum, where there's this context of like my partner right now is not satisfying me, and so this person will be the person who fixes everything. It.
Yes.
You're like looking for that, so your brain is primed to look for examples of how this person is better than your current partner. So when they get in these talking heads and talk about like, you know, oh my gosh, like this is exactly what I've been looking for, and I don't understand how this person can get me so well in just a short amount of time and blah, blah, blah. Like it's because they don't, right? Because they're just behaving in a way that you're interpreting as being that, even though that might not be that, you know?
I think too, this is also one of the things too, like, cause like when we talk about manipulation and stuff too, like it's really not that far of a thought or like too much of a stretch to say like if you could pinpoint those holes and stuff, like you could very easily
manipulate someone.
Yes, and I think too, especially like it's
that's the problem
because our brains are so wired to look for patterns, and like it's the thing like when you're thinking about buying a car, or you just bought a car and you're like, oh my god, now I see it everywhere, right?
Yes, exactly.
Like if you've never been loved in the way you're looking to be loved, yes,
or needed to be or deserve
then
to be.
like if someone does even a modicum or is like even close to putting, because we want to put that in a box, you know, then like of course then it's gonna seem like, god, they're the greatest thing since fucking sliced bread.
Yes,
you know,
no, exactly.
Yeah, it's just I think people really underestimate too, and I wonder too if sometimes, oh my gosh,
what,
like Lifetime movies and stuff, like we talk about the mommy porn and whatnot, you know, like if this.
Hold on, have we talked about mommy porn on the pod?
Have we talked about mommy porn on the pod yet?
Have we talked about that show called Sex Life on Netflix? I don't know if we have. The show that we're referring to is called Sex Life on Netflix. I really do want to sit down and have a whole episode about that series because I'm just obsessed with it.
I like the show, honestly. Like
it was actually kind of good. I started watching it for the meme and also
like
it just
Cooper
sort of
is a fuck. They're both on Billy also.
I know.
If you haven't watched Sex Life, go watch it. It's not the greatest show you've ever watched, but like we'll have a book movie club.
It's also very much not safe for work, to be clear. So don't watch it with kids in the room. There's some wieners.
Oh yeah,
there's legitimate like
horsecock.
Oh my god.
Well, it's huge. It's a prosthetic,
yes.
Yeah, but it's amazing that they would choose to make a prosthetic that big.
Yeah, they made a whole show of how large someone's appendage was. Anyways.
Can I say that on the show?
I don't know.
But like, can we just be real for a second? If it was that long, like, can you imagine regular day activities?
This man was wearing a prosthetic that reached down to his kneecap. It was just also too like if that's just not as a never mind. Anyways, let's just keep going. But it's very much not safe for work. There's like full on simulated sex and like the whole thing. Yes. It's like full nudity. Yeah. However, that's why I said I started watching it for the meme because I was like, what the fuck is this?
I was gone too. Yeah.
Yeah, you were gone too. And so I was like, I can watch some saucy TV. This looks fun, right? To keep me company at nighttime. And then it turned out to actually be kind of an interesting and like moving show.
No, it's pretty good.
Yeah. So we'll have a whole episode about Sex Life because I actually really want to talk about it. There's so much to unpack
if no one's watched it or there's like actually
I know.
Like, has anyone actually watched this show?
I don't know, but I love
several seasons.
I love it.
Right?
It has 2. It got canceled after 2 seasons, so clearly not that many people watched it.
Also, though, like, what more could they really have done?
I don't know. Talk about NRE? Wrapped it up pretty well.
Is that show NRE though, or no? That show's more like suppressing what your actual needs and desires and wants are.
Yeah, that's why we called it mommy porn, because it is very much catered to this gaze of like my husband doesn't see me and I feel unseen and unvalued and like everyone views me as a mother, and it's this woman finding her sexual awakening and sort of like her identity outside of like motherhood. She used to be very independent and feel very like sexual and empowered, and then she became a wife and a mother and lost that part of herself, so then she rediscovers it throughout the show. So that's why we call it mommy porn. It's like sort of a joke.
You'll get it once
it's not actually porn, to be clear, but it is
like in a little bit, but like in the Skinamax way.
It is, yeah, it is kind of Skinamax a little. Anyways,
good tangent.
I don't remember what we were talking about.
Me neither.
Let's tell on ourselves a little bit. We should talk about our own experiences with NRE, because I sort of talked about mine.
Oh yeah,
that I like allowed someone to behave towards me in a way that I would never.
What have I done? I have definitely gone way more out of my way than I would have reasonably done otherwise.
Yeah. Do you feel like that was something? Okay, so I'm actually curious about this.
Okay. Let's get into it.
Because that behavior of like, I'm going to do the most for someone.
Of course.
I think to some degree we all kind of do this in new relationships.
I think so too.
Right? I was going to say this earlier and I forgot, but in The Ultimatum and all of these shows, they also talk about how like, oh, this person's so attentive and they do all this stuff and blah, 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 except that there's no guarantee that person will be that way forever. Yeah. If anything, the truth is that behavior will gradually go away because of course we all want to impress someone in the early phases of a relationship. Yeah. So I'm curious, like this thing of like doing the most, right? Like to what degree do you feel like that was just like normal new relationship stuff, or like being blinded by NRE and like, oh, this person is like, you know, being so, you know, like they're so into me or attentive or, you know, whatever, that like I want to give them like give back that energy.
I really do believe in like reciprocation. And so it was like, if I'm doing the most, then like everyone inherently else would also want to be doing the most.
Oh, so you weren't like getting the most and then wanting to give the most. You were hoping to like do the other way around.
Yeah,
Like, if I give the most, surely then they'll give the most back.
And also too, I was under the impression too that like it was my job and responsibility to be doing the most.
Oh, really?
And like just as like,
is that like a man
like
thing?
A patriarchal,
I
think too, like societal, it is
no
gross.
Judgment, obviously. I'm not judging you specifically, but like what a sad norm for us to perpetuate.
No, but I think that just like generally like and I'm not like poo-pooing and like being sad and down about like, oh, men have it so hard dating, or like, you know what I'm saying? That's not the case.
Yeah, none of that.
But also at the same time, like I think for me, like it was very much the like, and we've talked about this before, the like, I will show you that there are good men out there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it's the white knight thing.
Yeah, it's very gross. I hate it. So now, I just be doing the least. Not the least, but like
I doing the least.
I don't do the least, but I do like the appropriate. I do the appropriate amount of what is
like a healthy boundaried amount.
Yeah, I'm not like out here fucking.
No, I think that's valid.
Running circles and putting myself out.
Also, to be clear, I think just for necessary context,
context us.
You and I, what we view as the least is
still
never actually the least,
no,
right?
Let's be very fucking clear. It is normally, even still, that is too much and the most.
Like the societal norm of men doing the least is like one-word answers to text messages and like being like almost like negging their partners, like not providing any feedback, not listening to their partner's requests, not being emotionally available. Like
could not be me.
That's not what you're talking about, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
I didn't think so, but I just wanted to be clear.
I'm not out here giving my social away and like doing.
No, exactly. That's why I said I think it's just more so like a healthy boundaried amount of investment early up.
Because also
early up front.
As I do call it out, I do also do the same thing though, where I do slowly absorb people's personality. Like I change. But also like we've talked about too. I guess apparently that's an ADHD tendency as well.
It is
to like morph yourself.
Yeah.
To other people's
and to hyperfixate on new things. So like if you meet a new person who their hobby's like puzzles, right?
I'm suddenly really into fucking puzzles. Yeah. Even though I can't stand puzzles.
Well, and because it's novel and interesting to you, right? This like person is interesting and you want to be a part of their life. And so this thing is new and interesting. So it's really easy for a neurodivergent brain to like latch on and be like, now I care about puzzles a lot. And like maybe you don't actually, but it's just like,
But also, I think that's why it's also super more important to me now to be like staunch and like firm in things that like are exciting to you, that you enjoy doing. It's like on every dating show, there's a date where they go and they do like also like all of this I know it's because of COVID and stuff. But like every date they went on was like some sports shit or some bullshit. Like I'm never going to play pretend to like fucking throwing a football at some bowling pins.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God. I know. What was that?
Embarrassing.
Throwing a football at bowling pins is so weird. And also it seems unsafe.
But
for real. I have very little, like a low tolerance for shit like that.
I not me. No. It's not me. As an athletic person and someone who loves doing shit, like not me.
I'm unathletic and I don't like doing anything.
So like, who is this for then?
I feel like that's actually kind of good advice though about like what do you do then, knowing that the honeymoon phase thing is sort of unavoidable.
Okay. Good question. Yeah.
Being like really in touch with yourself, I think, is one of the ways that we've both found to be grounded.
I do actually have an answer for that, I think.
Yeah.
I think because especially too in one of the last relationships I was a part of, I just made it very clear and it was intentional that like I don't really do like I do love playing games a little bit. I love a little cat and mouse shit. Like
gross.
I know. But also at the same time too, I'm also we do. And also like I'm like we date, like we're polyamorous, like I date, like it's fun, dating is fun. So like I'm like a little back and forth,
it's fun, yeah.
But
like you like banter.
I love banter. That is the sign of a good
like a I think intellectual
my like unspoken rule now is if we start getting to like, oh, how's work, or like what's like that shit, and I'm like, we're on the down and down.
That's fair.
But no, for me, I'm just like very upfront and intentional with, and I think it helps myself too. It helps keep me in check. Yeah. And like it helps release a lot of, because I have a lot of anxiety in relationships and stuff. And like, because obviously.
Wait, what is it?
The tip? Oh. I'm just very intentional.
Intentional about what?
I said it in my head. Did you guys not catch that?
No.
No, I'm just really intentional with how much I'm willing to put in.
Oh, okay.
Like I'm very upfront about it. That like, hey, like this is like I'm busy. Like obviously.
Oh, like level setting that like I can't be the most. Like I'm not going to be the pinnacle of your
because I've had
life and time always.
I used to be this person where like I would get really weird if you didn't like text back right away and like shit like that. And I feel very embarrassed about that period of time where
that's fair.
I was like, well, I don't understand. Like, why aren't you texting me back right away? But like also like now I'm like, oh my God, if someone is like that with me, then I'm like, please stay. Like it's like that thing where it's like, all right, you want too much. Like you're pushing too much into the relationship. Like I think
setting a clear expectation about how much space and time and availability there is in your life is important, you know, especially in a polyamorous context, because like we are married and our lives are logistically tied together in a lot of ways.
And I wouldn't have it any other way.
I'm not going to move in with somebody else.
No.
Right. Like there are certain days of the week that I know are sort of blocked off for you and I to like reconnect and spend time together because we're both so busy. And so, you know, like level setting about that is kind of a good way to keep your feet on the ground. Of like, you know, we're not going to get swept away here that like I am so excited and interested and whatever. And so we're going to be on a date for like, you know, 6 consecutive days.
No, literally.
Because I just want to see you all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
I do have a way different because I used to do the like marathon dating. And I know you.
Which would drive me fucking bananas.
But then like there's clearly other people.
Like lots of people. I'm sure lots of people do it.
But
I just don't like it.
No, I see, and that's the thing too. And another way that I've changed my opinion and going about it is like I don't feel this like need or desire to like want to be like spending like the first date shouldn't take half the day.
No, that's so weird.
Yeah.
To me, I think that's super weird. I don't want to tell other people what to do. Like that's none of my business, obviously. But I think that's another thing that's helpful in combating this like getting swept away thing with the honeymoon phase is that when you do that, it's like even more intoxicating. Like having time and space to sort of decompress and really evaluate objectively, like how did that date go, right? How did I feel about all of that is so important for me. I think because this is the other thing too in, you know, doing more like research and like seeking out experiences of other polyamorous people. One of the things that I learned to ask myself after a first date was, did I enjoy that date because I'm a fun conversationalist or because that person is fun to talk to?
Yes.
Because like I know this about myself. I could talk to anybody about
I feel the same way, and it makes it so, because sometimes I'm like, wow, we had a really good date, and I'm like, did we have a really date? You're right, though.
I'm funny. Right? Because I think that I'm good at talking.
We have too much fire sign in this house.
Yes, entirely too much.
I've had very many of those, and I'm like, God damn. Like, also, sometimes you get done with a date, and you're just like, I'm fucking exhausted.
Yeah, because you
like,
did
I just
all
carried
the work.
The conversation. Also, that's why too, it just kind of cracks me up, and I know this is not the same, because I know like there's been very much times where like this cracks me up, like people put in their dating profiles like, oh, if you don't know how to talk, or like, you know, like text talk, like if you can't or whatever,
carry a conversation.
Then like, you know, like swipe left or whatever.
Sure.
And then you match with that person and you're like, motherfucker, like it's you.
It's you. Yeah.
Like also generally the population of cishet men.
Yes. Do the least. Which is why I wanted to clarify earlier, because what you think is doing the least in conversation is not, because I have very much been on the receiving end of conversations with men who put that shit in their profile about like, you know, oh, you know, I love making conversation and good conversation is such a turn on. And then you talk to them and you're like, oh, hey, how's it going? You know, blah, 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 whatever. And they're like, hey.
Hi.
It's good. Not even a how are you? Not like it's good. What about you?
For just real?
It's good.
If that is my other like,
okay.
If I know it's petty and I know it might be, I could have been missing the best matches ever.
Sure.
And like the best connections and like building wonderful and fantastic relationships. But if we're like a couple texts in and like you haven't given me anything back or like pressed any questions or anything, like.
Goodbye.
I'm out of the room.
All the love to you.
I don't.
But I'm just not. We're not doing that.
I don't have the time. And I also, again, too, like I get not investing that much energy, but then like.
Sure.
You know,
but it's like a balance.
It is a balance. And
right?
It is. That you can
I think there is a way to be safe and boundaried and healthy about how much investment you're putting in while also not like negging people almost.
No, yeah.
It does come off as almost the like, you know, those like pickup artist people that were really popular in the early 2000s of like how to manipulate women into liking you thing.
What do you mean in the 2000s? You mean like still now?
Yeah, that's fair.
Your YouTube feed, I want. I cannot even go on Mickey's YouTube account because your feed thinks you are somehow a leftist incel who needs dating advice and how to
also loves the fundies.
Fundamentalist to the core.
Yeah.
Like your YouTube history is a nightmare.
Wrecked. But it's because I use that account.
I know.
For like that account takes the sword so that my personal one doesn't get ruined.
Its hands look like that, so yours can look like this.
Yeah. So that my personal YouTube subscription feed is perfectly curated.
Oh God.
To all the content that I want to watch. But no, I think there's like a healthy balance there of not getting lost and not like, you know, doing the most while also not being this person who just like is so obviously uncaring or uninterested. That's the thing that gets me about it is that I am very much going to be realistic and clear about how much investment I can provide to someone. Because I don't like when people reach for me or like pull at me. Like it's a pet peeve of mine. I struggle with that.
I do that.
Well, and I struggle with that with the internet also because it just feels like people are fucking pulling at you all the time and everybody wants something from you and like people objectify you and dehumanize you so quickly. Yeah. So like that's already like an ick for me in dating.
Understandably.
But also because I want to be respectful. Like I don't want someone to get through the talking phase with me and then find out that like, oh, there are realistic and logistical boundaries that we're going to run into in this relationship. And I didn't know that. And I wouldn't have signed on if I didn't know that.
When I say about being upfront and stuff too, it's definitely very much that too. Because like, I'm not going to be someone who's like ready to text you at the drop of a hat or like, also like, I know it's dumb. And I know it's like petty and stuff too, but like sometimes when people text, like sit on a text for a little while. Not like a long time, but like you don't always have to respond.
Like immediately, no.
Yeah. No. I also think too, because I think after watching the dating shows and the ultimatum and like stuff like that, you've noticed too, it always cracks me up. I think another great question to ask yourself too is like, what concessions are you seeing yourself already make, if you can even spot them? Because I think too, especially this last season of Married at First Sight, like there were some glaring, fundamental,
like
children.
Yes.
Like whether people wanted kids or not.
Yes.
And they're like, we're just gonna not. I have done this like, so many times today. What is going on?
I don't know. I don't know. It's because we started going as a meme, and now we can't stop.
It's like the. Yes. But no, like, and they're like, we're just not gonna talk about it. Yeah. And like, we're fine, and it's totally fine. Like, what?
Yeah. Or like the you know, I'm a leftist or a liberal, and this person, let's be honest, I'm a liberal, and this person is a raging conservative. But we'll just agree to disagree. Like, hello?
Yeah.
What
honestly.
do you mean? Like,
what are you talking about?
That's not a compromise that we should be making in the first few weeks.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Like, to what degree we want religion to be involved in our lives and our potential future children's lives.
But meanwhile, then every talking head, you're like, yeah, damn, I can't fucking stand that shit. And then when they're confronted in person, you're like, oh no, it's fine. We're
great.
It out.
Our relationship's a 10 out of 10.
So perfect.
Hello?
This is amazing.
Like, what are you talking about?
Oh my
I think
God.
that's good advice also. I think the thing that's made the biggest difference for me, though, is really being just grounded in, like, myself and my, like, wants and needs and also my, like, interests, you know? I don't want to be the person who's looking for someone to slot into my life because I want to be actively involved in someone else's at the same time. But I think because I have, like, the people-pleasing tendency.
Oh, same.
I know.
That gets you into trouble quick.
Yes. I know about myself that, like, in this moment of like NRE and excitement and like the oxytocin and the dopamine hit that I can get rolled over, right? Like I can get steamrolled into being this person who like will
always down for anything, like
and like will play nice, right? Like the thing where like I'm not interested in this, but I don't want to be rude, so I'll say, oh yeah, no, sure, right? And like then I end up having to be on the receiving end of these conversations about something that I don't give a fuck about, right? Like I dated a guy for a while who really liked NPR and talk radio, and I let him talk my fucking ear off, and like I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about NPR or talk radio. I don't want to fucking talk about it at all, at all. But like almost every date, I'm gonna sit in the car and listen to fucking. And I wanted to fucking punch myself in the face because I was like, Mickey, shut up. Yeah, like why are you playing nice with this person when you don't like this? You know, like you don't have to be rude about it. Yes. But like me learning how to advocate for myself to like. I don't really like that. You know, what do you think of this? And right? Like that's a kind and compassionate way to not abandon myself while also not being like rude or like too aggressive, you know? Because I struggle to find that balance. It's like hard. It's very much the like Aries Scorpio thing of like I'm just gonna retreat into myself and tell you nothing about me and be like the most mysterious enigma of a person, or I'm gonna be so aggressive.
Way too much. You're gonna know everything.
I'm gonna be like, fuck that. fuck that hobby. I don't like that. That's stupid. Like, that's not helpful either.
Everyone needs a good Luna. You know, like, oh, sorry, Harry's just too nice to say he's done having this conversation.
Yeah, he doesn't want to talk to us, but he's too polite to say so.
But no, honestly, I think that's the thing too that comes back to preferences, where people are like, I don't date fat bitches. Like it's just like, you can have preferences about what you like and don't like. Yeah. But like, just don't be a fucking dickhead about it, one. Yes. And like, two, just like, don't. I just never understood that.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's because first of all,
it's so insecure. Like, your insecurity is just fucking like, way to just put it out for everybody.
Also, you cannot change my mind. 90% of the people, especially like cis het, toxic, patriarchal, like alpha men, who say the thing about like, oh, I don't fuck fat women.
Yes.
Let's be honest, they don't call us women. Say that because they are attracted to fat and plus size women and people, but they're ashamed of that and they're embarrassed by that. And so they like have this very venomous and vitriolic way of saying like, I don't want to talk to you. And like, I am not responsible for the fact that you're confused by your arousal for a particular group of people.
Literally.
Go fuck yourself.
Honestly,
like, first of all, I don't give a fuck because I don't want to fucking date you or fuck you anyways. But
that's the part that always cracks me.
That's a you problem,
That's the part that always cracks me the fuck up the most.
I know.
Like, did you think you had a seat at the table anyways already? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
You should be asking yourself the question about whether anyone is like interested in you rather than like operating from this place of like being on high and like dictating that like you're so lucky to even get my attention because like, ew.
Also, like, that's never a good, you have no personality.
That's just like never. I don't care who you are, like what your preferences are.
Yeah,
that's never a good perspective to have. That like, I am the only person of value, and all of you peasants are so lucky.
You're lucky I came down from Olympus.
Ew,
like,
yeah,
shut the fuck up.
Weird and gross, and also it's never true. It's always a projection.
Every single time.
It's always a projection of your insecurities.
God damn.
I don't know how we got on that topic, anyways.
But we found it again.
We made it there, anyways. But yeah, the NRE stuff. I think that is probably like the thing that sticks out to me the most about like, you know, things that I've done in the throes of like honeymoon phase, NRE stuff.
Yeah.
I'm curious if there's like a memory that sticks out to you
for stuff like something specifically that I've done.
You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
No, I can't think of anything like general. I think it's just like actions and like I'm trying to think when it's like generalized. Yeah, just like putting myself out there way more than I needed to, or like going out of my way, or like going out of my way in such a way that it also then affected you.
Actually, that's true. Yeah,
is like my biggest like. Yeah. Like smack myself on the head. Like, what are you doing, you fucking dunce? Sort
of like spiting. Like, what is that? Like cutting off your nose to spite your face or whatever?
Yeah.
Is that the saying?
I can't. Yeah, that sounds right.
I don't know if that's applicable in this situation. But like the thing where like you're sort of taking away from other parts of your life in order to give to this part of your life, even though it like isn't necessary or called for at this moment.
Or also too, like if a person doesn't call, or like if a person hasn't earned that seat at your table, don't just give it to them.
Yeah,
I think is the other thing I've learned too.
It's also a boundaries thing.
Like, because I was very much, especially at the onset of us dating and stuff, I was definitely ready. Like at the drop of a hat, I was like, oh, you want to insert yourself and be like the biggest part of my life and like have my best interests at heart. Like very optimistic, like
blind faith.
Very blind, optimistic, like rose-colored glasses. Everyone has the same best intentions for you.
Yes, that you do for them.
Other people are very much hurt just as much as everyone else.
Yes.
And like their trauma and stuff will become your like.
Again, it'll come out, right? And not in a malicious way necessarily.
No,
it's not that I don't want people to walk away from this thinking that we're saying like everyone's out to get you, right? Because that's not true. But like, I think it's just having a more realistic perspective about people being flawed, right?
Of course, yeah.
People have trauma. People have
stuff. It's the pedestal thing.
People can't help it sometimes. And so like their imperfect parts are going to come out and sometimes they're going to hurt you. And it's your job to be on your own team, right? It's your job to have your own back and to like have these healthy limits and boundaries so that like, you know, when this person's imperfect stuff comes out, you're not just sort of like laying their belly up and waiting for someone to punch you, you know?
Well, and I think that's the thing too, is like, because we talk about the fantasy and the imagery and like the story you tell yourself. I think the story you tell yourself is like one of the biggest things.
Shout out Brene Brown for that phrase.
Is that hers?
Uh-huh.
Honestly, she fucking hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
But the story you tell yourself is like one of the biggest pieces, I feel like, to either a successful relationship or like like a tumultuous one.
Yes. Well, and also being able to notice when you're doing that.
Yeah. Because that's the thing too, I found myself too, is I would tell myself these stories about the people I was dating. And I would like, and then when they would do the opposite, then you're just hurt, like so internally hurt.
Yes.
And I'm like, why would you do this to me when they gave you no indication?
Yes.
And I think this is the thing I really want to get to with this episode, episode is like, this is the thing, like that fantasy.
Yeah.
And like how hard it can crumble.
Oh yeah,
when
and
you're setting yourself,
crushes you.
Yeah, like literally, like how awful that is. I think too because I did this like several times too, like back to back to back.
Yeah.
And then being like, surprise Pikachu, I don't understand what's going on, and it's because I was creating these stories for these people who had otherwise given me none of this information.
Yes, there's no reason for you to have this story about them based on their actions, but there was still a story.
Yeah, if a picture says 1,000 words, then a couple pictures and a profile and a dating profile, like I can write you a whole fucking book. Like let me tell you, like my imagination will just run wild. And I don't think I realized too how much. Yeah. And maybe it's the creative brain thing or something. Fair, I don't know. Yeah. Do you do this with
people?
Yeah, or like before you've even started, or
I think probably to a lesser degree because my like stories that I tell myself. Yeah. The thing that I do in new relationships especially is like the intuition thing. Okay. Right? I don't necessarily like tell myself stories based on like just the things that they say. Okay. So much as I do like their unspoken signals and body language and like that I will run away with.
Shout out from like childhood.
Yes. Like when I tell someone, I don't know, like I really like chocolate chip cookies. And if they pause for too long, I'm like, they don't really like chocolate chip cookies very much, but they didn't want to tell me that. And so I think that's maybe a sign that they're either dishonest or maybe they have trauma about chocolate chip cookies, or potentially they think that it's weird that I like chocolate chip cookies, or I wonder if they have a memory about this. And then like I'm gone. Not even goodbye. Not even in the same room anymore.
And I think it's crazy to point out too, or not crazy, but like important to point out that you do that with me.
Oh, all the time.
You and me both do that. Like, if either of us, like, if we're like brainstorming or taking something, or like, if I say like, "Hey, I think it'd be really cool if we talked about flowers," and if there's like half a second
too long of a pause,
and you're not like, "Yeah, let's fucking talk about flowers," then I'm like, that was the dumbest idea ever. Yes. Why did I fucking say that?
Yep. Yeah.
And like, I can go off.
Yes. And so our work has been like noticing that for ourselves, like we were saying, and like making that unconscious conscious, but also in like sort of checking each other a little bit. Yeah. Like we've been doing this a lot more recently.
Oh, the wing sauce last night. Yeah. Mickey bought me a new wing sauce.
Because you asked me to go to Sprouts because I wanted to get out of the house and like go do something.
Be a human.
Yeah. And I needed to pick something up anyway. So I was like, I'll go to Sprouts. I'll get us like some ready-made food, you know, so we don't have to cook. And you asked me like, yeah, if you don't mind just getting some stuff. And I was like, I'm going to do so good.
You did.
I'm going to do great.
And you did.
So I know that you like chicken wings, and they had some like leftover chicken wings from like Football Friday or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were just unseasoned, and we just recently ran out of buffalo sauce. So I was like, fuck, we don't have any buffalo at the house.
We still need to buy more. Go on.
And I looked at Sprouts, and of course the only buffalo sauce that they have is like, you know, non-GMO, organic, like cruelty-free. It's in like the size of a ramekin, and it's like $18.99. And so I was like, that doesn't really seem the thing. And so I was like looking at other wing sauces, and I found this one that was like a garlic and Parmesan.
Apparently Kinder, the brand, like it just out of nowhere is everywhere now.
Shit if I know. It was the cheapest and least offensive option for wing sauce at Sprouts. But so we had chicken wings last night.
Yeah. And I had the first one. And it was 1,000 degrees this side of the sun.
It was really hot. Yeah.
And you were like, oh, how do you like it? And I was like, you know, like, it's good. You know, like I hadn't even really tasted it yet because the wing was so fucking hot. Yeah. But you're like, oh, it's the fucking like, I can't even remember what you said.
You don't like it?
Yeah, no, literally, immediately. And I was like, I haven't really tasted it yet, to be honest. I'm trying not to burn my tongue.
But then I was like, okay, if you don't like it, you can just say that. Like, you don't have to hide it. Like, you can just tell me that you don't like it.
I'm not tell me you don't like it. Tell me you don't like it. I was like,
I'm not going to get my feelings hurt. Like, just tell me that you don't like it. And you were like, I just don't know that I like it yet. And I was like, so you don't like it?
No, literally.
Like, that's not what I said.
Oh, my God.
But it's that kind of stuff.
Yes, no.
So, like, I think yours is more, like, optimistic storytelling, whereas mine is very like fear-based.
Okay, that's fair. I think yours being fear-based. I think mine used to be, and I think I've unfortunately become more of a pessimist. I'm like, this is gonna be a waste of fucking time now. Like,
oh my God,
I know,
that's
such a
not
bummer.
Good. You gotta work on that.
I know, I do need to. Slow and steady. Slow and steady. Slow and steady.
Not me being like, I'm gonna send an email to your therapist.
No.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't actually do that, to be clear. Don't anybody at me in the fucking comments.
She's like, as soon as we get in the car, you're like, I'm gonna therapize the shit out of him. No, not even.
Yeah, okay. I think
too. I know. I'm just leaving this to see what you can say it. I'm
I think
on the same
that's a
page.
nice place to wrap up the episode. So too. Yeah, I feel like we've sort of talked ourselves through the whole NRE thing.
And if you guys have any more questions about it too, talk to us. Or what are your experiences with it?
A surprising amount of y'all are polyamorous also. So let us know. What are your experiences with that?
I think it's an important thing to be aware of too, even as like people who aren't polyamorous and are monogamous and things like that too, because I very much see, like I saw someone go from like in the course of a weekend, go from like meeting for the first time on Friday and then like spending the whole weekend together, like at each other's places and shit and stuff. And like if I was single and like that too, like I don't know if I'd be much different. Like I think that would be my red flag, is like it also like comes across as love bombing a little bit.
Yes. Okay, actually this is a good point, because you mentioned something about manipulation earlier and I meant to say something and then we got distracted and I forgot.
Well, let's wrap it up with this. Tell me.
But I feel like this is a good thing to be aware of too, is that like obviously the work of being in our bodies with like you know, not getting swept away with all the new energy is important, but it's also good to be aware of, because again, I don't want everyone to think that like everyone's out to get you, because that's not true.
It's not the case.
By and large, people are good people and the world is like a mostly safe place. However,
it's important
being aware of when someone's trying to manipulate you is also part of that, because for people who are really adept at pattern recognition and finding weak spots and then using that in a malicious way to manipulate you, it can happen really fast, right?
In this NRE
place where like you and I have seen it happen in our own personal lives, where like somebody will get involved with someone that we're like, I don't know, that's like a good thing. Like I think that person might just be telling you what you want to hear. And then all of a sudden our lives are really enmeshed and like things like bad things are happening.
It's like you blink and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. And all of a sudden that person's really distant from their family and friends. And you know, it's just like, it's scary. So I think that's also important to be aware of, that like if in this new relationship phase, things all seem so perfect and so wonderful and they have the perfect answer for everything.
Like why is that?
It's good to like pause and take time, and not that you need to like run away, but just like practice creating some space, because if that person has good intentions and they are like being truthful and honest, they will respect your need for space to process and to make sure that this is safe for me, that this is an okay thing for us to do, and that they don't feel the need to pressure me to escalate things really, really quickly. Because if someone's pressuring you to escalate and to, especially to like cut other people out of your life really quickly, that's like the reddest of red flags. You know? Yeah.
I think especially with the communication, like trying to subdue or suppress communication. But I think anyone who would anyone who has your genuine best interest in mind should have no problem with that at any point.
Even if their feelings are hurt, right? Even if they are wounded by that, they're still not going to weaponize that at you, right? They might be able to say like, oh, like I'm really hurt that you would think that about me, or like, you know, I'm really sad that you don't want to spend all this time with me. But weaponizing that against you as if to say you're wrong or bad for thinking that, and so therefore you need to spend more time with me, is so fucking toxic and dangerous and fucked up, you know?
I just, I think especially for me now that I'm thinking back and reflecting back on it a little bit, a lot of mine, because I am such a genuinely optimistic person and like
you can't help
very
it.
Rose-colored glasses view of the world.
I think it's sweet.
My work has been in leveling those expectations and like creating a more realistic story. Of like what an actual relationship might actually look like. So not to be like, I'm like, dating sucks. Everyone sucks. Everyone's out to get you. But like, just like, you know, it's like good to have a level set.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why level set is the word of this episode, but it is.
Maybe that's what we'll call it.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
If you like the episode, you can like the video and you can subscribe. We put out new episodes of this podcast every Thursday.
Live streams on Friday.
Live streams every Friday.
I don't get to, but you get to.
We have main channel videos that come out every Saturday. So thanks for coming. Thanks for supporting us. And that's it.
We'll talk to you soon.
See you next time. Bye.